That's the number one reason people go to Agile, is because they want to be able to respond to change and adapt really quick. That's the number one reason people go to Agile, is because they want to be able to respond to change and adapt really quick. So we've gone through our design thinking, come up with our MVP statement, and are starting Inception. We iterate on the MVP. It grows. So for this project, we'll just kind of have stories in our backlog that will say this would be part of a future iteration. But we're comfortable setting those things aside because we are going to build something that's complete within itself. Because we are focusing on our values and staying true to the key markers of our extreme programming methodology, the pair programming, co-location, so having everyone in the room here, test-driven development. So we write tests before we write code, and velocity is the average number of story points we get done in a day. So week-long iteration. So starting next Monday, we'll have our first IPM, our iteration planning meeting. That'll be about an hour-long meeting just to talk about the stories for the week. Get that set up. We'll have daily stand-up meetings throughout the week, and we'll end the week with a retrospective.
Typically, it's the developer and the developers and the product owner.
The retrospective, that is our chance to learn and improve our process for the next week. So product owner runs the IPM, so the IPM will be a lot of us asking questions about the stories and how things should work, and making sure we as a dev team are clear on everything. When we have questions about functionality, we'll direct them to you. We just know, and we can burn through the story backlog. The developers themselves, and only the developers, give story points. And the value of velocity is really saying, if we're doing 10 points on average, then you can look at the backlog and say, what 10 points are we getting through next week? Are they the 10 points I want? We'll see these columns exactly reflected in Trello. Our backlog is where you'll be spending the most time. That is prioritized. As a dev team, we'll always work by just grabbing the top card off the backlog. If for any reason, like maybe we're missing a design asset we need and we can't work on a story, we'll mark it as blocked and kick it back to the backlog.
The in progress, and then the other one was awaiting acceptance. So and then the following would be done.
What we look for a product owner more than anything is understanding the business value. Your job more than anything is to make sure we are doing the right thing, and the right thing for our users. In writing the stories and accepting the stories, you're saying this is what our users are looking for. Mm-hmm. But we'll get our epics up there at the top, and then we'll break down the stories below it. Pair programming, continuous integration, test-driven development. So pair programming, so our devs, when they are working on user-centric stories, will always have two devs sitting next to each other looking at mirrored screens. So they are working on the same story, they're working on the same code, having a conversation about that. Way fewer bugs we find. It lets us rotate. So I might be pairing with Andy one day, pairing with Alex the next day, soloing the day after. This means no one is in a silo. No one has exclusive knowledge of part of the code, but we write our tests first. This is another way of staying user-focused, because our test scripts, which will be automated, will say something like, user goes to a page, has this interaction, submits the form, and it'll check that our code really does that. So we make our commit, that's when it goes to GitHub on the staging branch. Run our tests, deploy to staging. If that looks good, then we commit it to the master branch of GitHub, which is the landing page, and then it gets deployed to production.